Hi there, and thanks for tuning in. As you know, Google Workspace is a really great tool for both personal productivity as well as letting teams of all shapes and sizes collaborate easily across boundaries and better together. Well, one of its superpowers of Google Workspace that we don't talk about a lot, though, is the ability to allow users of all skill levels, of all types, to actually customize Google Workspace to work better the way they work. So, in this session, we're going to take a look at some of the capabilities of Google Workspace to allow users of all different levels to build solutions. And then the highlight of the session is definitely going to be we're going to bring in Verizon, which is one of the largest wireless carriers in the United States, and have them tell us how they empower their users to get more out of Workspace through customizations. So before we begin, let me introduce myself. I'm Charles Maxson. I'm a developer advocate here at Google, and I talk all the time to folks about using Google Workspace as a developer platform. I'm super excited today to introduce Aspi from Verizon. Aspi, tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. We are Google Workspace customers, and I, of course, work at Verizon. I run the digital workplace over there, and I'll come back later to tell you a little bit more about Verizon and how we use all the automation that's built into the platform.
Awesome. I'm super excited for your part of the session. But let's first take a look at some of the things you can do, some of the tools we offer, and the ways you can customize Google Workspace. Okay, so first of all, why is this interesting? Why is it important? And what do we mean about customizing Google Workspace? So, first of all, everybody is looking for digital transformation, right? It's not just an IT term, it's really for users across the entire organization. In fact, when you think about it, that's why most organizations have moved to Google Workspace in the first place. It's about empowering employees to get more done in their jobs so they can be very productive. So, if you think about that, if you're a business user, and maybe you're not technical, but that doesn't matter. You have a specific job to do. You're the expert in that job. You know what needs to get done. You know the steps it needs to take. You also know you could probably do your job better. There's definitely ways you could automate to get things done faster. There's probably processes you know that you could simplify to reduce redundant steps, to really supercharge your work and avoid some of that busy work. And finally, if you think about how you streamline these work processes, to help you focus on value added tasks, you're going to be better at your job because you've improved it using some of the tools of your digital transformation. So if you think about that, you're also probably very comfortable with the tools you have at your disposal. You know, things like Gmail, Drive, Calendar, Docs, Sheets, Slides, and you know how to use these tools as they exist right out of the box to get a lot of things done already. But you're probably asking yourself, I could probably do more with these tools. If I could figure out how to get things done better, I can be better at my work. So it's really not uncommon to see business users become part of the solution building journey by using the tools they know, they love, and they're authorized to use. Now, from an IT side, what's really super interesting is you can include the business users as part of this IT solution development journey, mostly by empowering them to do things themselves first. So if you think about it, there's probably a lot of applications you're asked to build and you may not get to all the ones the users want you to build. So why not include them in that process? But you also want to make sure they do it on tools that are compliant, regulated, secure, that you want them to work with. So when we think about this empowerment journey, when we think about digital transformation, it's really about all factions coming together to get more out of the way they work. And I think it's a super great point behind Google Workspace. So if you think about the vision for Google Workspace for empowering employees, it's pretty simple. Workspace has something for essentially everyone to become part of the solution creation process. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to become a coder day one or ever needs to be a coder. Most people on the business side don't know coding, don't want to know coding, and that's okay. But empowered employees get more value out of the work they do and more value out of workspace. And a productive workforce is a great benefit for IT as well, too. So we think there's something in the product for everyone, regardless of skill. Yeah, let me clarify but what I say about everyone and translate that what that means in the terms of tools and frankly expectations. Okay? So, first of all, I do believe that nearly anyone could build a solution on Google Workspace. Now, a solution could be something small. It could be a few lines of code that you automate or a few steps in a workflow process that you configure. But anybody can build a solution to make themselves more productive. So solutions are everywhere, just looking to be built. I always like to say, and I believe this to be true as well too, if a user can build a spreadsheet, they can build a solution in Google Workspace. So let's get started talking about how that actually is a reality. So the very first part of it is we have a tool called AppSheet. And AppSheet is a tool that requires no code, just configuration. In fact, it does a lot of that configuration for you, but it literally, even by the name you can tell, literally allows you to turn a spreadsheet into applications. It's really designed for anybody who wants a more formal application than a spreadsheet, but maybe they don't have the skills to get there, they don't have the time to get there, and frankly, maybe IT doesn't want to be involved, doesn't have the cycle to help them with it, so they want to build it themselves. AppSheet helps them to do it. It's perfect for business users because they know the problem they want to solve for, they have the need, it's something they want to be a part of that process. They can pick up this tool without having to worry about IT interaction and get it done on their own. It's also a great fit for for the IT professionals as well too. It's not just for users. If you think about it, I'm a developer myself. I love using AppSheet because I can quickly build a solution where I may have had to write code in the past, and I can get something done in a fraction of the time with a very agile development method and not worry about having to sling code or take a long time to get things done. So it really has a wide-ranging audience as well too. So a great tool. The next tool I want to talk about is AppScript. Now, AppScript's been around for a little bit of a while, and it's a low-code solution. But similar to AppSheet, it's unique in the fact that it's built specifically to work with Workspace, and it serves a pretty wide-ranging audience. Now, by the name, it does require some code, and I mentioned it's a low-code solution, but the fact that it's built right into Workspace, many business users have discovered it because, again, it's built right in, and they've been quite successful using it. In fact, we see more business users using it than IT in a lot of cases. And so it's very accessible, it's very approachable, it's very easy for folks that are technically inclined, technically curious, or technically capable. Now, that doesn't mean everybody can do it. Wouldn't say that. That's not really a fair statement, but it really is approachable by a lot of business users. And there's an awful lot of content to help them be successful with that in their journey with it as well, too. Since it's built in, the code you write is based on JavaScript. So again, a pretty common language that some folks in the business may know if they've ever built websites. Being built in means the IDE, the runtime, all that is included, which is super neat. It also means it has a few advantages over other technologies when working with Workspace. For example, it's easier to use than a full-blown application. It requires a lot less code to write than if you were to code this and with other tools. So it really does help you do things fast. Hence, it becomes a low-code solution. Now, again, it's not just business users, definitely not just IT folks. Anybody who wants to build a solution, even pro devs, can leverage AppScript nicely. Now, of course, if you want to build a very robust, full-fledged solution, we do offer all our RESTful APIs for pro coders to go out there and build it. So really, when you think about it, if you look at the gammon here, it really is something for everyone, for anyone to build solutions. Okay, I just want to do a little bit more on AppSheet, but there are a couple sessions here at Next that in the end, in the learning notes, I will actually point you to that you should definitely check out and get the full story. But I wanted to give you my personal view of AppSheet. I think it's super cool and super neat. If you haven't played with it, you definitely need to. So first of all, it's really easy. I love that. It's just like building a spreadsheet. In fact, you simply take a spreadsheet, you can import it in, and it has spreadsheet-like capabilities, but many more options that really make it a standalone application type of a solution. So you can basically build a much better spreadsheet. It also allows you to connect to many different data sources, and this is important. Spreadsheets are great. That 2D grid of data, though, it kind of gets a little hard to work with sometimes for many use cases. AppSheet allows you to connect to different data sources, so it could be, on-premise databases, cloud databases, whatever the case may be, BigQuery, even other places like, Microsoft Excel, you can pull spreadsheets in from there, or other type of providers on the back end. So it really makes it unique as far as the data you can pull in. It's super fast. Like I mentioned, traditional development takes a while. Definitely it takes a while to get it right. With AppSheet, regardless of your skill level, you can build apps in hours or days if you want to do a complex one. So it really speeds up the development process. And my favorite thing about it is it's super agile. You can actually build something, try it, deploy it, get user feedback, make changes, and go forward in a really quick manner. So this is awesome, right? I love its agility. And then finally, it is robust. It allows you to build very rich, very good looking applications, again, with limited skills, with limited efforts. And so you can actually solve problems quickly. You're going to love them if you haven't played with it already. So, how do I get started? Real quick. You go to appsheet.com. You can go there, read more about it. You can actually start building apps right there. There's both a standalone version of AppSheet as well as the Google Workspace family version. So again, you can try it out either way. But getting started, you connect your data, use one of the many templates that are available, customize those templates, change the look and feel, add some automations, share it like it was just a Google Doc to others, folks in your organization, and you've built an app and you're on your way. So again, this is a great way for anybody to be involved in the solution process. I'm not going to go into more details on it again because there's a couple great sessions on it, but I do encourage you to check those out, and I'll share those in a moment. What I want to focus on for a second, though, is AppScript. Now, AppScript is that middle solution, right? It's a low-code solution, so it requires a little more effort per se than AppSheet, but doesn't require as much effort as a full-stack development environment, which requires professional coding skills. It's a really great tool that kind of sits in the middle, and it's super powerful in its own right. First of all, AppScript is native to Workspace. So this is awesome. It's serverless. There's nothing to set up, nothing to configure, nothing to deploy. It's just there, right? It's just available right when you start using Workspace. And so there's also nothing to purchase. So this is really super important for the business and IT to understand this. There is no additional cost required. You can create as many projects as you want. There's no credit card to enter. You can allow users to use this freely because it's part of their Workspace environment and their Workspace subscription. So that's awesome. But also because it's native, it means things like managing projects, authenticating users, the ability to debug, deploy, manage your projects, share them with others is easy because it's built into the Workspace environment. And again, this also means because it's built in, all the heavy lifting is done for you. You write a lot less code and it makes you a lot more successful, a lot faster. That's why I mean it's available for anybody. So what can you do with it? And the answer really is a lot. The sky is kind of the limit. If you think about things like, if I want to automate tasks, I want to take some repetitive tasks to save time and focus on more important work, AppScript can help you do that. If I wanted to extend Workspace, say, for example, there's features or functionality that don't work quite the way our business needs it to, or there's missing features that you want to build on top of it, you can extend it with Workspace. And then also, finally, you can integrate it with other applications. So say, for example, you could actually connect your calendar and Gmail and slides together or sheets together and make an Uber application natively, right? So it works the way you need to work on a business process. You could also connect two-party applications that your org builds or even third-party applications. So if you want to include your CRM or you want to include information coming from your ticket management system and your HR system, you could bring that into the environment of Workspace using AppScript. So super neat. So the types of solutions you can build, again, really kind of depend upon you. They range from simple to sophisticated. And here you can kind of see the curve going up where some are easier, some are harder. I'm going to go through these super fast, but no, you can definitely learn more about it. Simply think about some of these ideas and how to actually help you in your business. So real quick, first of all, sheet macros. As I said, anybody could build a solution. And most business users are comfortable with spreadsheets. Well, you can actually create a macro inside of AppScript that will recreate steps that the user takes when they're building business processes. So imagine if you have a report that you have to create every week or month. You can actually take the steps inside of a sheet, perform those steps with the macro recorder on, record those, and you're actually writing code. Even though you don't know, care, or even have to look at it. Now, it's a great way to learn coding. It's a great way actually to get code written for you, but sheet macros is a great way to get started. And I encourage anybody who even has no coding background, but has busy work they want to tame, should take a look at sheet macros. So next thing is custom functions. And custom functions is one of the main reasons AppScript was built in the first place. If you think about it, there's about 500 built-in functions into Sheets, but not all of them solve your business needs, right? You may have to calculate the way you pay your salary commission to your sales folks, or maybe the way you do expense reporting is different, or maybe the way you calculate your taxes is different for every location. You can create custom functions that do that for you in AppScript and then share that so all users in your organization have functions built in based upon the business rules that are important for you. And all you're doing is writing some app script behind it to support that and make that available. So custom functions are huge. Next thing is toolbar menus. I can actually put UI elements right in the top of the editors of Workspace to help guide users through a business process. So they don't have to figure out, how do I run this solution? They can simply go up to a menu sitting on top, click on some things, and actually execute some business processes. For example, here you can see we actually manage some of our processes internally here for setting up meetings with a very helpful, very easy to understand set of menus to help guide the entire process for all users, regardless of what they know about it or not. It helps them through that. Okay, one of my favorites is the ability to do automations. We also refer to these as triggers. And so the whole notion is, if you write some code, you may want that code to run automatically. So say, for example, again, you're formatting reports and you want that to run every day or every hour even, or every week, whatever the case may be. You can do time-based intervals to run code to solve business problems, right? You don't have to have someone running that code, it'll do it for them automatically. You can even capture user events to run code based upon what someone's doing with the application that you're building. So say, for example, every time a document opens, or every time a cell is edited inside of Sheets, or every time a form is filled out, you can capture that event and do something on behalf of the user to carry out a workflow process, which can be really a big time saver. Okay, next one is web apps. You can take the entire power of AppScript as a platform and everything that it actually allows you to connect to inside of Workspace, but then build your own standalone web app with your own custom UI and not have to worry about putting it into the Workspace environment or working from there. You can simply take this and deploy this as an application running on the web for users in your organization to play with and to use, again, but not having to go out and roll out new infrastructure or use new tools. You can do that all right from within AppScript. Next one is libraries. And again, if you think about empowering users, and maybe users may not know or have the time or frankly not want to reuse code that you've already written, you can build libraries and publish these libraries so other users in your organization can actually pull some of these in. In fact, there's many publicly out there on the web, so why reinvent the wheel? If someone's already written some great code, you can pull these libraries into AppScript and leverage work that other folks have done. And then chatbots. Chatbots, as you know, part of Google Chat, allows folks to inject automation into conversations. So AppScript can allow you to do this. So if someone's chatting, they can actually do something on a back-end process or get a response from you, and you can use AppScript to build that out. And then the final one is add-ons. And add-ons, you're probably familiar with add-ons or the concepts. These can be written in AppScript where you can create extensions and integrations to Workspace, to other apps, with an add-on that you can deploy internally in your organization at your domain level, or even externally if you wanted to actually share it with the world. And we have a marketplace where you actually can go out and find those and share those and collect those. And so if you don't want to write code, you can also find code in the marketplace that other folks have done. So just in conclusion, there's a ton of things you can do with it. Here's some of the popular ones that we hear from folks that they build on it. Everything from automating sheets and workflow processes to working with data and forms, all types of different scenarios. So sky's the limit, as I mentioned. But now I'd really love to hear how Verizon is using not just AppScript, but the entire stack of Workspace to solve problems and empower their users. So with that, let's turn it over to Aspi and hear from Verizon.
Thanks, Charles. Hi again, everyone. So I'll tell you a little bit about Verizon because it's important to understand the context in which we use this particular platform. We are a Fortune 20 company. We have about $128 billion in revenue last year. And we have a lot of employees. We have about 130,000 employees, but the total number of users balloons to well over 200,000 when you include contractors and South-based workers as well. So it's a fairly large population we manage. We have three different businesses, and it's important because we have diversity of the types of users as well. We've got our consumer group that does the consumer and wireless wholesale. We've got our Verizon business group that works very closely with small and medium businesses, government as well. And then we have the Verizon Media Group, which is media, advertising, and technology. What that does is it creates a diversity of users that we have to care for in the digital workplace, which is the team that I run. So you'll see all kinds of folks that work in retail, field operations. You'll have developers, executive, knowledge workers, people coming in through acquisitions, South-based workers. Very lots of diversity in the type of users we have to manage, and they all have different needs. And we are a very large company, so we have a lot of processes, a lot of legacy code as well that we have to deal with, a lot of automation that is necessary. And we do all of this within the operational framework that is very rigorous from a security and compliance perspective as well. So that's a little bit about Verizon. Um, we have an automation strategy. So what we've done is we've created a very simple strategy around automation where we allow our users to write this automation, really empower themselves. We have a middleware piece. We use Apigee for that, which allows us to connect Google to Verizon because Verizon is behind a firewall. And so we use a middleware to kind of pipe us through so that we can keep track of what is happening and it is permission, the right authorization is given. In terms of how we foster the community, so we have a digital workplace development team. That development team, we kind of try and keep it at the center of the universe in terms of being a sounding board for all the different experts. But we know that there's a lot of expertise available in Verizon. We're really blessed. We have a really good developer community, and we also have enthusiasts that love to learn coding, or not that much coding, but just play around with Google Apps Script. And they all form the core of the community that we build around our development team so that we can really empower these users. More importantly, they can help each other. They're not stuck. There are random acts of kindness you'll see within the community as well, where people help each other out. So we foster that community. And really the primary use cases we've seen is, and this is at a very high level, extracting information. A lot of people use Google Apps Script for that. Alerts, triggering workflows, building reports, and integrating with other tools, including Google tools as well. These are some of the most important use cases that we've solved as we've built out these automations. So Google is a much-loved platform from an app script perspective. There's a quote that kind of tells you how much people really appreciate it. And as Charles said, really, there's some really built-in advantages to this, right? OAuth is built in, so you don't have to authenticate users. You don't have to build all of that. It comes for free. Google users, when they log in, can now use some of this as well. It's a serverless platform. It scales up automatically, which is fantastic. You don't have to, it takes a lot of the edge off of actually writing something from scratch. And very importantly, it has built-in metrics. You can actually see with Google Analytics how your code is doing, who's using it, and all the different things that we're doing as well. So having said that, we'll talk about some of Verizon's greatest hits. This should give you some idea of what we do with it, how we work with it, and hopefully it'll give you some ideas on what you can do as well. It's not just about automating tasks, it's about also building new capabilities. So let's talk about security tracking. We have a group that does a lot of penetration testing. I'd mentioned that we have a very strong security posture. It generates a lot of data. And that data is tracked and reported out using a Google Apps Script that somebody's written. It's really important because instead of looking at many emails and many sheets, you can now go to a sheet or you can go to a website and you can look at all of those metrics. PC fulfillment is something that is pretty critical to us. We have a huge demand of PC fulfillments, new hardware coming in, old hardware going out. It would be impossible to address without automation. So that's an area where we actually send requests for device orders and retrieve updates for requesters, happens automatically, keeps people in the loop. Very critical part of our PC fulfillment process. I was actually talking about this to one of the developers who's built this Wall of Fame. So the Wall of Fame is an application built entirely with Google Sheets, Google Apps Script, and then pumping data out to a website and a little bit of React. It's a virtual platform to recognize peers. It has search, it has filter, it has a dashboard. It's a great site, which allows everybody to feel recognized as well. And it's what I call a new capability that we've built. We're not automating anything, but we're really building something net new in the organization. Task assignments are pretty popular too. Since we are a company that has processes that were built earlier, sometimes we have a lot of stuff that happens that needs to be collected from people. So we have a team that's actually built a Google form. The Google form collects inputs from people. And based on the inputs, we create dynamically emails that go to different people, including the person who's filled out the form with different pieces of information based on how they've answered things in the form itself. And then based on the answers in the form, we create a Google Sheet that creates tasks. And those tasks are assigned to different people. And all of the logic of how to create those tasks and assign them and who to assign them to is built into the Google Apps Script as well. Our development team has written this fantastic Chrome extension called the Verizon Assistant. It interacts directly with Gmail using its APIs. So this extension has settings that are not offered by Gmail out of the box. This is something that Charles was referring to earlier, where you have the functionality you need above and beyond what Google has to offer. So a very popular one, reversing conversation view, that's built right into the Verizon Assistant. It uses and manipulates Gmail through its APIs to offer that kind of functionality. And we also pipe in like the Verizon news feed so people are up to date inside the extension on what's happening at Verizon. And we also have a contacts lookup so people can look up their contacts and learn more about them before they shoot off an email to them. Project management, also very popular for automation, task metrics dashboard, a master tracker for all of the status reporting built in by a team. So as soon as you kind of initiate a project, it'll create certain artifacts for you, like Google Drive, a team drive will be created, a form will be created for you, and all of the tasks will be created. A sheet will be created to track those tasks. And then, of course, a reporting dashboard is automatically created for you as well. So the framework is set up for a team to operate inside a project. Aggregating info, really good. We get a lot of emails about alerts, about information from different systems. So one of our teams has actually taken all of that email. They go into their Gmail, grab all the information from the email, and then create a consolidated view of all the information in the sheet. So instead of having to look through 50 different emails, you can now go to a sheet, figure out all the action that's happening about a particular topic or a project or something that you need to know more about. Customer health, so it's not just internal facing, we also have external facing benefits here as well. So we have a team that supports a lot of customers using a variety of methods. They now have one single way to input information from them. People create tickets in a very lightweight form. Those tickets are then sent into a Google Sheet assigned to different people. They're alerted, those folks are alerted, so they can start working on the tickets. And then they mark the ticket completed inside that sheet. And when that happens, we can actually generate very rich metrics by region and by depot almost, so that you can look in and say which depot, which region is performing in terms of ticket resolution times, identify areas that need to be worked on, identify patterns, provide a lot of this rich information to our team that's constantly monitoring how our customers are interacting with Verizon as well. We have, of course, a lot of other stuff we do, but hopefully this gives you some ideas on what a large company or a small company can do in terms of really kind of unlocking the power of the platform itself. Over to you, Charles.
Wow. So first of all, that was an amazing, amazing showcase and pretty impressive greatest hits apps you got there going on. So if you want to learn more, first of all, as I mentioned, there's a couple of sessions you should definitely check out. GWS 109 and 110 will actually tell you more about AppSheet. So dive into those and learn more about that great product. But also there's a bunch of others here specifically tuned for customization and for developers on Workspace. And I have one more slide I'd love to leave with you. I know it's a busy slide. Take a print screen of it, a screenshot, or pause the video and check it out if you want to go through all these wonderful links. But if you can't get through them all, the simple one to remember, very top left, is developers.google.com/workspace. That will get you started to a lot of those. But know that you're not alone. There's a lot of great resources out there to get familiar, to get hands-on, to connect with the community, which is quite active around this, as well as leverage existing code already in the marketplace. So for that, first of all, I want to definitely thank Aspi for sharing all the things that Verizon is doing. And I definitely want to share with you a very big thank you for tuning in, sticking with us, and learning more about this. Hope to see you soon.